Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Listen, I'm here to tell you that the women's and men's NCAA championship could not have ended any better for me. Not because I personally benefited, which I did, but because I really like all of the stories that have come out of, or that are coming out and will continue to come out of these tournaments, right? Like, first off, I have to start by congratulating and wishing the Queen, Dawn Staley, a great offseason. I know she probably won't take very long before she's right back into the thick of it, getting ready for next year. But what she's been able to be able to do, building something out of nothing, like turning, and it is no diss against South Carolina, but I don't ever remember them being in the talk as a national power in women's basketball before Dawn Staley got there. And so you have to do two things, right? You have to, one, give all credit to Dawn Staley and what she was able to build. But secondly, you have to give credit to South Carolina for not only believing in Dawn Staley, but then providing her with the tools necessary to get the job done. Because it's one thing to believe in someone and to think that someone is good and to want them around. It's another thing to provide them with everything that they need in order to get the job done, right? I believe this is why she left Temple. I believe that if Temple had made this commitment to the women's game the way that South Carolina made the commitment to the women's game, we'd be looking at Temple the way that we look at South Carolina. Now, I don't know that to be for sure. Maybe they did. Maybe they did everything that she wanted to do, and she just decided she couldn't get it done at Temple. But that's hard for me to believe when Temple is such a great university, right? It's such a prestigious university. For them not to have been able to get it done at Temple doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So something tells me that there was something they're missing. I think she even alluded to it years ago when she was like, hey, listen, we took Temple as far as Temple was going to go the way it was. Well, why does it have to stop? It's because there's clearly not something being provided to push it to the next, to the next level. So I'm fascinated by that. And shout out to the Queen. She's the best that's doing it. For my money, the best point guard of all time, women's game. My number 2 favorite basketball player of all time behind Magic Johnson. I just love everything about her. I love her heart. I love how she cares. I love how she's so considerate in the way in which she talks about other people and she addresses other people. But she's also like a fierce competitor and dogged and still is able to say, thank God, right? Whatever happened to being ashamed or not being ashamed to say thank God, right? Like, I think that that's fantastic. I think that she does it in a way that makes you go, okay, I'm with you. She's not preachy. She's not trying to get you to convert. She's just telling you about the things that she feels have made her successful in her career. And one of them at the top of it is God. If you can't respect that, your whole perspective is whack, right? So that's a storyline I'm really interested in. I really look at it and I go, man, this could be Temple right now. Like, there's no reason why Temple should not be South Carolina, but they're not. And South Carolina's here. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, they're not going anywhere, right? People were joking, quasi-joking. I think when they said that South Carolina had 2 starting lineups, right? I think that they were kidding when they said it, but it's not far off from the truth. there's not a lot in the way of saying that they're wrong, right? And so if South Carolina has two starting lineups, right? If there are two starting lineups for South Carolina, and these young ladies are not going pro early, and the only people I've heard leaving is the one girl. I mean, granted, she's a big part of it, but still, right? It makes you go, well, why would they not be running this back next year? There's no reason to believe that they won't run this back next year. There's no reason to believe that they won't get it done next year. And regardless of what you think about those girls, those beautiful queens that are down there, it is fantastic for me to see South Carolina at the position they are, looking the way they do, acting the way they do, winning it all. Do I feel bad for a girl like Caitlin Clark? I guess, kinda, right? She chose to go to Iowa. She knew Iowa wasn't a power. She knows that Iowa is most likely going to go back to being Iowa once she's gone. So, like, that's the bed she made. If she wanted to win championships, if she wanted to be a champion, a national champion, then you probably don't pick Iowa unless you believe that you are the key to winning it all, right? That's what Asia Wilson believed. That's what Asia Wilson believed. That's why she chose South Carolina, because she believed that she was the key to unlocking everything that Dawn Staley and South Carolina wanted to get done. She believed that she was the reason they were going to win a championship, right? So heavy is the head. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Caitlin Clark, whom Dawn Staley said was the GOAT or a GOAT. I don't know how you can be a GOAT, but she was the GOAT, right? I disagree with Dawn Staley because all of the GOATs got it done, right? All of the GOATs got it done. And say what you want, right? Say what you want. But Caitlin Clark was cooking in the first quarter. She was steaming hot, right? And the first quarter got over. I believe she had 18 points, if I'm not mistaken. 18 points, 15 points. I want to look it up because I don't want to be wrong in this, and I want to tell you the right things when I'm talking about it, because this is remarkable. I was watching the game, and in my mind, I'm going, well, maybe not even in my mind. I probably was saying it out loud, right? In my mind, I'm going, yo, are y'all going to just do the same thing that these other teams did, right? Are y'all just going to do the same thing that these other teams did? Are y'all just going to let this girl get off, right? Y'all just going to let this girl get off again? Or y'all just going to let this girl, do what she needs to do again? Just go and hit you for 40 plus points again? Like, is that really like what you're here for? And then there was a change made, and there was an assignment change, right? And Dawn Staley said that but Dawn Staley must have said in her mind, you know what? This isn't working. I need somebody else on her. And so she put Raven Johnson on her. Now, if y'all don't remember who Raven Johnson is the young lady who Caitlin Clark, when she grabbed the ball outside, waved off. Like in other words, she self-checked. And if you don't know what that means in basketball, that means that I don't have to guard her because she's not going to make a shot, right? And it was a lot made about that. Number one, it was full-fledged disrespectful by Caitlin Clark to just wave her off like that, like so demonstratively wave her off in the middle of the game. And I'm here for it because if you ain't no good shooter, then guess what? I ain't going to play you. If you're not a good shooter, there's no reason for me to play you. But here's why the rest of the league or the rest of the country is in trouble. Because Raven Johnson said, okay, this year, listen, I'm not doing well. I'm not shooting well. Raven Johnson went 1 for 11 from the field. She went 0 for 4 for 3. She was self-checked again. But you know what she did? After one quarter, where Caitlin Clark has 18 points, right? Where Caitlin Clark is, torching them. Three-pointer here. Fouled with a 3 points. I think Bree Hall was guarding her at this time, right? First 3, then hits 3 layups on the 3 that she gets fouled on. Then she hits a layup. Then she hits a 3. Then she hits 2 more free throws. Right? Like at some point, somebody's going, yo, we got to do something about this girl. Caitlin Clark, another layup. Caitlin Clark, another 3-pointer. 18 points in the first quarter. Gotta get whoever is on her off her, and they put Raven Johnson on her. Right? They put that young lady on her, and she had 12 points for the rest of the game. They put Raven Johnson on this woman who has torched everybody, everywhere, the world over. She had 12 points. And I'm here to tell you, right? There's no way for me to prove this. I'm here to tell you that if LSU had put a defender the likes of a Raven Johnson on her, they don't make it to see UConn in the semifinal. Raven Johnson had a girl who had 18 points in the first quarter, held her to 12 for the remainder of the game. That is phenomenal. I don't care who you are. You can say whatever you want. That is phenomenal. Phenomenal. And she did it. She played 37 minutes, right? The only other person that played over 22 minutes in the starting lineup is Cardoso, and we all know why, because Iowa couldn't do anything with her down low. So, of course, she's just going to keep playing and murdering them. That woman had 17 rebounds. Kitts had 10 rebounds. You know, what happened to old girl who showed out? What happened to Stokey? Stokey showed out versus UConn, right? She showed out versus UConn, a team depleted. She went up against them South Carolina girls. It was no mas. And I think Stokey could be a decent basketball player. But she ain't replacing no Caitlin Clark. And so Caitlin Clark, who was hot as fish grease in the first quarter, scored 12 points the rest of the quarter. Now, at the end of the game, the stat line looks, oh my God, it's 30 points. She showed out again. But if you were actually watching the game, which if, we know that the numbers said that people were watching in droves, right? But not a lot of people bringing up the fact that she got cuffed in the second, third, and fourth quarters. And this, my friend, is why you hear people like Diana Taurasi say she's got a wake-up call coming in the WNBA. Because in the WNBA, they lock up like this. right? They'll lock you up like this. This ain't the NBA where you got 82 games and you can afford to trick off 30 games. This is a truncated season. You got to hit the ground running. You got to make your mark. You got to get these buckets. You got to get these dubs. And she is going to be food for anybody who wants to make a name for themselves in the WNBA. Which brings me to the question, right? Brings me to this question. And I want people to like answer this question like honestly. Right? Don't just become prisoners of the moment and think that because she was such a transformational player in women's college basketball that she's automatically going to be a transformational player in the women's NBA. Right? So I want you to sit back and I want you to ask yourself, is Caitlin Clark just another Sabrina Ionescu in the WNBA? Is Caitlin Clark Sabrina Ionescu? She's going to have good games, right? She's going to have times where she fills up the stat sheet in a bunch of different areas, but she's not a star. She's not and I don't care what none of y'all say. Y'all can fight me or argue with me all you want. I still don't believe she deserved to make the All-Star team last year when she was in the All-Star game. Sabrina Ionescu I'm referring to. Is Caitlin Clark just another Ionescu? Someone who came in, who was supposed to put the WNBA on her back, who just is another good player in the WNBA. Remember, Asia Wilson came into the WNBA and was an immediate force. An immediate force. Candace Parker came into the WNBA and was an immediate force. Maya Moore came into the WNBA and she was an immediate force. Not so much with Sabrina. Even before they got Breanna Stewart, who came into the WNBA and was an immediate force, even before they got Breanna Stewart to come over from Seattle, when she had it there by herself, which means that she had the Kobe Bryant green light because everyone talked about her and her relationship with Kobe, and that was the kind of thing. She still didn't fill it up. A very pedestrian rookie year. So could that be Caitlin Clark's future? I remember when Kelsey Plum came out. I thought Kelsey Plum was going to hit the WNBA and boom, it's on. She filled it up from everywhere in college. Everywhere. She was a murderer. She walked into the WNBA and life was different. She got that wake-up call. She had to adjust her game, figure out her fit, and then she was off. But you know, Kelsey Plum is not a mega star. She is not one of them ones when it comes to moving the needle of the WNBA, right? She is not I don't believe that she is a franchise-changing player. And so then the question becomes, is Caitlin Clark? Because Sabrina Ionescu was supposed to be a franchise-changing player. She is not proven to be such. Will Caitlin Clark be that? I have questions, right? But it was a fantastic women's game. I know that it's not over, but I hope that you guys, us who love the waves, we love waves, right? I hope y'all don't all of a sudden decide, okay, we rode this wave, so now it's time to get off. Because the women's game has been good. This isn't brand new. The difference is there was a girl at a school unlikely to beat these other girls who then beat these other girls and did it with some pizzazz and with some flair and with some swagger. and the other girls checked her for it and then beat her, and now it became a national story. I hope that you can respect and love and admire the women's game for these girls' actions on the court, right? And how they play ball rather than just the storylines that come from it, right? That was great. That brought you to the table. Now stay for the good food. Don't just come for what it looks like. Consume it, love it, and stay at the table because the food is great. You know what else was great was the men's game. The men's tournament was excellent because there was like all of this uncertainty mixed in with the inevitability of UConn just running roughshod through the tournament. And that they did. Shout out to UConn. It had me thinking this tournament had a lot of things. Number one, John Calipari being John Calipari, right? You want to know what John Calipari was known for before he finally won a championship with Kentucky, or at least in circles I ran in? He was known as the guy who would do enough to get you popping, be really good, be relevant, might be skirting the line on what is and is not legal, but before you could catch him, he was out and on to the next. And to Kentucky, and they rolled the red carpet out for him so much that he stayed. He stayed for a long time because he won a championship, which gives you some equity, right? And he's bringing in all these recruiting classes. But now he feels it. There's pressure coming. There's people saying that if he doesn't get it done next year, he needs to be fired. And what does he do every single time the heat gets hot? Every single time somebody turns up the fire underneath him, he bolts. And so now John Calipari is doing what John Calipari has always done. Run to the next program to get them above mediocre to a perennial national failure, right? A perennial national, we have more talent, yet we don't get it done team. That's what he's destined for at Arkansas. Until either he retires and or he starts to feel the heat again, and then he's out somewhere else. Don't be surprised if this isn't the last stop that John Calipari takes. Don't be surprised if he doesn't end his career in Arkansas. It's not surprising at all, right? Take a breath, ladies and gentlemen. This is who John Calipari is. And if we're being honest about it, what did he really do on the grandest of scales, right? That wasn't done by his predecessor, right? By the guy, maybe not his predecessor, but some of the guys that they ran off. Tubby Smith at Kentucky, he won a championship. He always had them relevant. It wasn't good enough. One of the other things I look at is this UConn team, and I'm impressed because like a lot of the key elements from the first championship last year was still there, but there were other elements gone. And it made me ask the question, you know, it made me wonder, how long can Hurley go and have his message like ring through? How long can Hurley keep this up? We all know what happens in these situations, right? You become great. You become a great program. You have players that start leaving before they probably should leave because they've had success at the highest level. You have the other players who don't stay and wait their turn, who go and find opportunity elsewhere, and now can go and find money elsewhere. And here is the biggest one. You have that one player that comes in who doesn't actually buy in. You misrecruited. You messed up the formula that you had, the type of players that you were getting to come in. You just make a mistake. And that one little cancerous piece is big enough. It has enough effect that it corrodes or it deteriorates, right? It deteriorates the things that make your program what it is, the standards that you uphold, right? The pressures that you feel to win, the pressures that you feel to continue to be a national power. All of those things still come into play. And all of a sudden you go from the championship game to an Elite Eight to they got bounced early. Oh, that's an aberration. They'll get it back, but you never get it back. How long can Hurley keep this going? Can he keep this going? Early indicators say yes, right? Early indicators say yes, because when you got it popping, everybody wants to come. A lot of people want to come. But the problem is in this NIL world, does UConn have the deepest pockets? I don't know. It's a fascinating thing to watch. Can he create a dynastic run at UConn? Can he make a legendary run at UConn like his predecessor? Right? Like the people that came before him. Like, you can say whatever you want about Kevin Ollie, right? But he had it popping at UConn for a while. He didn't exactly leave the cupboard bare. We know who he's chasing. We know who Hurley's chasing. It's not Kevin Ollie. It may not even be the legend at UConn. It might be in his own family. Can he have a run similar to the run that Jersey St. Anthony's had? And now I know I'm talking about high school versus college, but who doesn't want to compare to their father? Right? Who doesn't want to one day somebody say, man, you did this just as good and or better than your pops did? That would be fly. But that's going to be the question, right? Where's the next thing? How long can he keep it going? If he does start to see it dive, does he jump ship? Does he find a fresh pasture? Is he willing to ride the lows along with the highs? Will UConn allow him to ride the lows with the highs? They didn't allow Kevin Ollie. Will they allow him to have 3 down years? Right? Will they be okay with a round of 32 departure and a round of 32 or a Sweet 16 departure and then another round of 32 departure, or maybe even a loss in the first round? Will they be okay with that, or will they say, oh, his message is gone stale, we need to make a change? Are they willing to support him to give him what he needs financially to be able to compete with these other programs that will be offering these kids the moon? Man, I'm just fired up to know how it gets down, because on both sides, on the women's side and on the men's side, I know people are like, well, there are no stars in the men's game anymore. And there may never be stars in the men's game again. But that doesn't mean there's not enjoyable basketball, right? The facelessness of the leagues right now is what has brought the intrigue in. So many people are walking into the NCAA tournament really not knowing if UConn can run amok over everyone again, if Purdue can finally get it done, if North Carolina can rebound from a disastrous season and make it to an Elite Eight or a Final Four, if Alabama can play little to no defense and just outscore anybody all the way to the Final Four. Like, if NC State could have a Jim Valvano survive and advance, like run to a championship. All of these storylines came out of the men's. The downfall of Kentucky, right? The downfall of Kentucky. Florida A&M loses their quality coach. The mid-majors getting plucked for all of College of Charleston loses their coach, all of their players. Coaches, players getting plucked, leaving, going around, names that you've heard before, returning to schools that you've heard of before. Gonzaga making week 2 on a down year. Gonzaga making it to week 2 on a down year. I'm going to tell you right now, have the Zags on your radar for one of the best teams in the country early next year. Because they're not going to lose much, and they're going to recruit the same guys they've been recruiting, which means that offense is only going to get more and more efficient. Don't be surprised if you see UConn right back here again next year, especially if a couple key elements come their way. Who's not going to? If you're a transfer portal guy and a high level one, right, who fits what they want to do, why would you not go to UConn? Why would you not go to Alabama? You just saw what the kid from North Dakota State did. That's proven. Okay, I can go there and I can get it popping. What's better than that? I think it's a great time in college basketball right now. It's not king because football still exists, but it's a great time in college basketball. I've also been watching a little bit of UFL. Well, not a little bit. I've been watching UFL, and I will just tell you, watching the guys who are still younger, who've been to the NFL, play in this league, shows you just how good the talent in the NFL is, right? Because Deion Kane had issues sticking on teams in the NFL, right? But he ain't having no problem in the UFL. Anthony McFarland's not having a problem in UFL. And that's what we're telling you. It's so much talent out there. So much that you can see. If you haven't checked out them UFL games, go ahead and check them out. It's fun. Don't be looking in the stands. Oh, ain't nobody there. Who cares? Watch the game. The game is enjoyable. And since, college basketball is over, and we're turning our attention to NBA playoff basketball and the beginning of the Major League Baseball, shout out to the Yankees. It's a pretty fly thing. Make sure that you check out any of my columns I've got going on right now at Giants Country. Also, make sure, before you know it, we'll be at football season again. You're going to start seeing more football content from me soon. I got some big things on the horizon. Y'all should want to come along for the ride. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. Do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Till next time, peace.